destroying our race like no one ever fought so that you can be in America and enjoy what you do. Use this system, but don't let it use you.
Amen.
Let's get it together, black man and woman. Let's support our own businesses and own our own land. It's now or never. So if you're not going to start acting like you're proud to be black, then give it back. The lips, the hips, the naps, just give it back and lie down and die from that spiritual bullet in your back. Good evening. Please repeat after me. Today I give myself permission. Sorry, say it like you mean it. Today I give myself permission. To no longer be a volunteer victim. I will live life by my own rules. And no longer listen to liars, haters, and fools. I will take control of my own destiny. And let no one get the best of me. For if it is meant to be, it is up to me. Give yourselves a round of applause. So, quite honestly, that was my goal for the evening, was to come and make y'all all rap. What did the speaker do? We rapped, and then we went home. Just kidding. So yes, my name is Dr. Omekomgo Dibinga. I'm a trilingual rapper and poet who do poetry and hip hop in English, French, and Swahili. I am a professor at American University in Washington, D.C., where I teach several courses on cross-cultural communication. I also teach a class on Jay-Z, who was the subject of my doctoral dissertation and the subject of my 7th book that I'm working on. So tonight, as we close off Black History Month, I'm going to share some spoken word pieces with you all, maybe engage in some conversation, and hope that as we go into March, meaning literally March 1st, we'll walk out here a little more proud of who we are, a little more conscious of our history, and more encouraged to learn what we don't learn. Because celebrating ignorance is celebrating our destruction. So, I dedicate this poem, this whole evening, to 5 individuals. 311 years ago, in 1708, one of the first recorded slave rebellions recorded in America happened today, 311 years ago. Where was it? Where was it?
Slave rebellion?
Where was the slave rebellion that was recorded in 1708, 311 years ago, that happened today? One person, one guess.
New York.
Yes. In America, absolutely. New York, more specifically, here.
New York.
Long Island.
Long Island.
That's your direct history. And because of that slave rebellion that happened here in your community, 1 Native American was killed, 2 black men were hung, and 1 black woman was burned alive. So I dedicate it to those 4. And this is right in your backyard, guys. If they were fighting for freedom right then, why do we fight to stay enslaved now, in 2017? So I dedicate this to them, and I dedicate this night to all of us. We good?
Okay.
Let's keep it moving. This is a story about love. Not that Valentine's Day love or that motherly love. It ain't even about that Philly brotherly love. No. This is a story about the love that hate produced. I said this is a story about the love that hate produced. It's a story about Africa and all of her children still loving themselves after centuries of systemic injustice. It's a story about tragic transatlantic treason and Berlin boundaries being drawn across ethnic lines with no rhyme or reason. It's a story about enslaved Africans beating the odds and nations conquering other nations and changing their monotheistic gods by creating missionary positions in order to religiously rob Africans of their own religion. It's a story about Europeans using civil lies to try to civilize the creators of civilization. And it's a story about Klan rallies and white families gathering on a sweltering Sunday afternoon around 5:30 for a friendly game of blacks being burned alive at the stake and living for over 300 years as enemies of the state. It's a story about Langston Hughes through poetry shaping the blues and stereotypical images of black men on the news. It's a story about kings losing their crowns on Tennessee balconies and Malcolm slaying for pointing out white fallacies. It's a story about Joanne going from America's daughter to persona non grata under the name of Assad. And it's a story about Congolese genocide in the name of colts and diamonds and gold, and about Southern Sudanese slaves still being sold in this new millennium. It's a story about Garrett Morgan creating the gas mask that would save the lives of millions of firefighters who would then take their hoses and turn them on our own people, igniting an international fight for civil rights. See, this is about that production process, manufacturing love in fascist factories and capitalist corporations. It's a story about Queen Mothers giving more meaning and life to the movement than it's a story about Muhammad's messages to the black man and marches on Washington. It's a story about Reverend Bernice picking up her father's crown and Malcolm's children preventing his legacy from being bought and sold on the download. It's a story about Marian Anderson shining on Washington Monument stairs after years of contempt for her peers. It's a story about Tuskegee Airmen being humiliated and discriminated against, yet never flying their airplanes into the World Trade Center because our people are too forgiving in the face of ingrates who don't appreciate our good-naturedness. It's a story about Ali standing strong and protest of Vietnam and Sam Cooke swearing to the death that a change gonna come as Major League Baseball welcomed Jackie Robinson, though Fritz Pollard's family still waits for his induction into the should-be-shamed NFL Hall of Fame. Nevertheless, it's a story about Venus and Serena Williams picking up on Althea Gibson's greatness and Arthur's ashes and winning at Wimbledon, and about Tigers making all competition retreating to the woods. It's a story about those conscious and brothers and sisters in professional sports taking care of their hoods, and those hip-hop artists protesting to keep our educational system from becoming no good. It's a story about brothers dying on the front lines of Vietnam, Korea, and Kuwait so that the world can see the first black Secretary of State. And it's a story about the nation's defense being placed in the hands of a sister, and about Lawrence climb up her hill to humility, and the government's attempts and futility to break our attempts at unity. It's a story about a people becoming black and proud, and not being ashamed to say it loud. Can you hear it? It's the sound of all the love and hugs being exchanged at the millions of marches, and our people committing themselves to health and not the golden arches. It's a story about a people reclaiming their African identity, like moving on from Roland to Askia and international protests to try to be Mumia. See, this is a story about love in the face of a system that has hated us, but cannot live without us. But most importantly, it's a story about God's chosen people rising up from the dust. You see, this is a story about love. I believe that Center Foundation is our women. And so I dedicate this next poem to you.
Thank you.
We good?
Yeah.
Black women.
Amen.
You have always been there, leading the way. Without you, I would not stand here as I stand today. I don't know how you do it, how you keep on going. When away from you, so many of our brothers are strolling. You've been raped, ravaged, had your name to face, yet still you found time to be the backbone of our race. The backbone of our race, our heart, our foundation, even when we were stolen and forced to build someone else's nation. When they took away our Ankh and gave us their cross, you kept your faith in God, a faith that I lost. I put my faith in my master. I wanted him to receive me. But when my master became my new millennium boss, he said he no longer needs me. I thought I was alone with no one to accept me. I turned to you. You were mad, but you didn't reject me. You never gave up on me, black woman. Your love was so absolute, even when I was angry and took it all out on you. I realized that I hated myself and that I did not hate you. I just did not know how to appreciate you. But my faith is back, black woman. I have seen the light. I realize I need you now and everything's going to be all right. You see, so many other people are just curious to lead us to their beds, but you're so divine, you greet us with open arms, and we never have to beg. You on such another level, so surreal, so sublime. The only intercourse I want is intercourse of your mind. You see, just to hear your voice, my body is yearning, because I can make love to your soul and keep my body a virgin. You are my future black woman. I know this once more. And if us side by side, brighter days are in store. I asked God what I needed to put me on track. God sent you to the door, and I've never looked back. Brighter days are ahead. It's this I foresee. So to pay you this tribute is an honor for me.
Thank you.
I believe, though, we've made so much progress in this country. It's still a country in many ways that is inherently misogynist, that inherently has a fundamental problem with women of all racial backgrounds. And I believe that we as men need to make sure on a daily basis that we are working to affirm ourselves. And women have to make sure we're doing the same. You see, one of the things I do is I travel the country and I speak at schools and I teach teachers how to teach black and brown boys and how to reach students of marginalized backgrounds. And when I speak to the youth, and I'm talking to the high school students in here, ladies, y'all good? How many of y'all walk around and call yourself by words that start with B? Raise your hands. Let's be real. So I host a TV show called Real Talk. Okay, let's do this. No one wants to be put on the spot. How many of y'all know somebody who walks around calling themselves B words? Okay, we can do that, right? Okay, that's cool. Yeah, because parents might be next to you. You said, yeah, I got you. I feel you. It's good. Now you see, my belief is that words have power. What you think about expands. How many of y'all know people walking around calling themselves the N-word, for example? Raise your hand. Of course, it's other people, not y'all. I get it. I got it.
I know other people.
Other people. See, when I started studying for my PhD, all my friends started calling me doctor. Now I'm a doctor. You feel what I'm saying? So you have to tell yourself, what you speak about yourself, what you speak to each other is most likely to become true. So we can talk about everybody else and oppression and what other people are doing and saying, but at the end of the day, what are you doing to yourself? When you demand the respect, I've learned throughout history, you tend to get the respect. But if people look at you in a way that says they don't even respect themselves, why in the world should they respect you? So you want to take yourself to the next level? Start speaking in language that allows you to do that. Start surrounding yourself with people that allow you to do that, knowing that you are a direct reflection of your 5 closest friends. Do your 5 closest friends represent where you were, where you are, or where you want to go? You have to make that decision. If you consider yourself an A and you surround yourself with people who aren't A's, then you're no longer an A. And I'm not talking about grades, I'm just talking about top notch. You can't soar like an eagle if you surround yourself by pigeons, right? So you got to surround yourself with people who represent where you want to go and help you speak it into existence. So in order to speak about that a little bit more, I think it's very important that I speak a little bit and share a piece relating to this thing we call the entertainment industry. Can I do that? We're coming off the Oscars and Grammys and all of those things. And so I'm going to share a piece with you all, which is entitled, Act This Way. We good?
Sure. Yes.
Ron. So, here we go. To our complacent black actors, athletes, and artists out there, I ask, where's the outrage? Spending all your time on stages and not giving a care for what's going on with our brothers and sisters behind cages like Maya Angelou's birds. It's absurd because you act like you ain't heard that there's wars going on in too many parts of the world, but you're only concerned with bling-blinging, so you have no regard for what you're singing. Since you're rapping about your bulletproof cars and vests and your head's not even mine-proof yet. Then you got these artists out there dropping these snippets of consciousness, claiming that they love our sisters, telling them to keep your head up. And then you got these artists out there claiming that they're hardcore, down to the meat on their bones, but off stage they're vegetarian revolutionaries because there's no meat behind their words. And see, it's also absurd because you got these black actors and actresses performing acrobatics on mattresses for Academy Awards, telling our young queens they can make it if they do these chores because deplorable images of women is what sells. And what's up with these actors trying to play action heroes when in reality they're just ramble-sambles, but since they're also playing historical figures sometimes, I guess they're more like samble-ramble. So Hamble, have you heard? I'm just trying to figure out how to kill 3 mockingbirds with 1 poem. So leave me alone as I blast these rappers with their chrome and iced out Jesus pieces while I'm seeing these so-called conscious artists sporting their platinum Muslim star and crescents, while these actors play historical figures who are all about the revolution and not ego tripping. But when I'm looking for y'all at the real life rally, ain't no one here with us chickens. Or better than chickens, you're more like popcorn kernels. You see, you're brown on the TV, but when the microwave heat of reality is put on, you pop white. I mean, what in the world are you working for? From Stephen Fenton to Stefan Urkel. I'm sick of all of the cowardice and buffoonery. It's like all of your affluenza has given you influenza because you become cold to our causes since you're only concerned with audience applauses. And I'm just mad because I can't get you in real life to act like an activist because society's got you squeezed like a fresh glass of OJ Simpson will poor blacks rallying because he was acquitted and not giving a care that his politics never fitted our community like a glove. While on Doug, our musicians are holding it down from East Coast to West Coast to Slave Coast with their platinum shackles, and football players only concerned with making tackles. Well, I can't even get a quarterback on some reparations thrown my way. And in b-ball, our people don't care about the people of Iraq or Hebron's pain because they're too busy trying to be the next LeBron James. So to those celebrities out there who this applies to, stop letting your status draw you from reality and stop driving me to insanity of all your profanity. Get $1 million signing bonuses and you still ain't saying nothing. While too many of us are content to sit calm, watching sitcoms and listening to whack songs that we don't care for songs as long as it has a nice beat. We don't realize that our minds being lulled to sleep while these other folks make TV shows with child geniuses like Doogie Howser. We're still bringing down the house of movies like Soul Plane Boo and all that other yowza. So y'all got to forgive me if I sound like I'm talking out of place. I'm just tired of seeing fake gangsters, inactive athletes, and black folks in blackface. I want to see our celebrities become more respectful and be more humble because they're single-handedly destroying 500 years worth of the struggle. So look, guys, let's keep it real. I'm a hip-hop dude, born and raised on it. Whatever, the whole spiel. I'm not like a generational hip-hop disser. Like, I'm not the guy to be like, yo, the music of my generation was the best, your music is whack. I'm not into that. Whatever you feel is what you feel. Whoever you love is who you love. But the question you have to ask yourself, which is the question I had to start asking myself when I started flowing, was, what is the music that I'm listening to making me want to do? What am I encouraged to do when I play that Drake track, that Meek Mill, that Minaj, that Remy Ma, that Jay-Z, that Nas, whatever? What? Oh, yeah, that happened. Oh no, I wasn't even going there. But I feel you. And you know, I haven't even heard the joint yet, so I was I'm gonna get on that after this. So my career. Sorry, guys. Sorry, we're just having a hip-hop moment. I'm coming back. So, right, but seriously, we have to ask ourselves, is it making us want to get out there and pursue our greatness? Is it making us want to get out there and be more disrespectful? When I was rapping, I stopped rapping because when I was younger, every time I rapped, I was always swearing, and it takes no creativity to swear. Like, I could drop a whole album right now if you said I can curse. It takes nothing to throw these words out. That's why I started writing poetry, because I had to be more creative without a rhyme pattern. But then when my nephew became 11 and 12 and started listening to rap, and a lot of stuff they were playing on the radio at that time, they stopped editing stuff. So I started rapping again to kind of give him something that he could listen to without all the swearing and disrespecting folks. And so you know what I did actually is I took popular rap songs from back then and I remixed them. Because a lot of students I spoke to, they never heard rap without swearing or misogyny. So you know songs by like Biggie, ever heard of like Juicy?
Yep.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. You've heard that before? I never know, right? So I would just flip it and talk about something else. So I would be like, it was all a dream. Credit cards living above my means. Shopping sprees with no money in the bank machines. Visas in my wall. Lit with my click spending mad money at the malls. I let my car top, couldn't start shop. Nikes and PlayStations, wish I could have bought a yacht. Way back when I didn't know I needed credit stack. Yo, I was dumb for that. And that was whack. All I hear, ha 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 ha, when the shopping store clerk cuts up my card. Now I'm in the red light, bills piling tight. Wish I was paid, cause now I can't afford a fade. Fuck this dinner. The credit cards, I was a sinner. Now I gotta eat ramen noodles for dinner. East to West Coast, college kids hear me. Bad credit will lead you to bankruptcy. I'm going broke like you know I would. Having more than 2 cars if you're good, it ain't good. So that's what I was doing. Like I was remixing stuff, right? So that's like my mixtape series. It's called Bootleg. And so since I stole all that bootleg, all that means, I can't sell it. But it's online. I can get that to you for free. You can holler at me afterwards. But for real, for all of y'all who are in the rap and be into it, but see if you can take it to something greater. See if we can use it to empower ourselves in a different way. Like KRS once said, that mic you speak through goes from here to Mogadishu. Meaning that the words that you're spitting are traveling all across the globe. So look guys, I have been in countries, and we're going to get back to the poetry, don't worry about that. We got some important things to talk about tonight. I have been in countries where they don't even speak English, right? And once they hear my accent, the first thing they say, what's up, ma? Calling me, you know what I mean? I'm like, okay. And then I'm going to a club in some of these places, and one guy says, can you hook me up with some black bees in America? And we know what B stands for, right? So I'm not putting it out. And I'm like, well, how do you know this language? So what they tell me is, I learned English through hip-hop. Because hip-hop is the most popular form of music in the world right now. Yeah, it's party music, but it's also revolutionary music in a lot of places. So again, ask, what is what you're listening to inspiring you to do? Is it inspiring you to carry yourself like a proud woman, like a proud man? Is it inspiring you to disrespect your community or build it? Disrespect your elders or respect your elders? And those of us who are in this room who can be considered elders, you need to also take your time to get down with the music. And understand, stop calling stuff crap or trash or garbage when you don't even know what's being said. Or you don't even know the stories that are being communicated. Because for many of us in the hip-hop world, whether you like it or not, hip-hop is our first form of education. Because the schools aren't reaching us. Which leads to the next question, parents. How involved and engaged are you in your schools? Part of the reason someone just yelled out 0. And that was a young person. So, I'm going to many of these schools, they're like, help us reach our black boys, help us do this, help us do that. First question I'm asking is, where are the parents? Malcolm X said, we're the only people that entrust our education to somebody else. Amen. Send them away and leave them. So, what are we doing to get engaged? When I was a classroom teacher, parents' night, only the kids who are straight A students were the ones who showed up. When people don't see you as being engaged, they feel they can do whatever they want to get children. And they do. Because they know you ain't going to have their back. They know you're going to blame them. Oh, you acting just like your father. Oh, you acting just like your brother. Blah, 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 blah. Are we our kids' first protectors? A lot of people know that we're not. So as we stand here on slave rebellion ground, we have to ask ourselves, how long are we going to continue to act like we're enslaved? Start leaving our education to somebody else. We got to take control. When you have people, legislators like Carrier who brought me here, and so many other people doing work, yes, give them a round of applause. So many people who are working in communities, we all have to do our part. Because let me tell y'all something as we go into this next poem. If we are not going to be the ones to take advantage and change our educational system and our educational institution, there's another institution that's waiting for us. Can we be real? Can we be real? Now, let's talk about that. Look, just last week, this new administration decided that they're going to continue to let private prisons grow.
That's right.
Well, here's the challenge, though. In order to keep private prisons, you need to have people in them. And some of y'all are so caught up in these ridiculous conversations on the press that you think they're just going to grab some random, quote-unquote, illegal person and fill them in there. No. Y'all don't understand. We live in a country where we literally build prisons based off of your third-grade reading scores.
Yes, sir.
Your third-grade reading scores. My third-grade reading scores. All right? There are prisons already built waiting for us. Waiting for us. They determine in third grade you're most likely not going to college, so let's have the other institution ready. I've been inside of these prisons, seen kids locked up as young as 10 years old. We just had a case in Pennsylvania where a 68-year-old judge just went to jail for prison for 28 years because he had a deal, true story, with the private prisons. He was getting kickbacks off to every kid he convicted.
Wow.
So he had kids as young as 10 years old in prison and got at least $2 million off of that. So once you build them, you got to fill them. And again, 10 years old. Watch the new documentary coming out by Jay-Z on Khalif Browder. If you haven't heard that name. So I'm not making stuff up. All of you in this room, this side, standing up here, that's us. Get your stuff together. Students, parents, somebody's waiting to incarcerate us in some way, shape, or form. The poem that I'm about to share with you all, I wrote 15 years ago. 15 years ago. All right? 2002. And when you hear it, you let me know if it could have been written today. It's called Big Business. B-I-D-N-E-S-S. When I was a child, a news reporter once said that crime doesn't pay. But there must have been a disruption in the airwaves, or maybe I changed the channel too soon in a rush to watch my morning cartoon to see something must have happened that day. Because now that I'm older, I realize I didn't hear him say the rest of his sentence. You see, he must have said, he had to have said, crime doesn't pay those who are incarcerated. Because the prison industrial complex is a multi-billion-dollar business. You see, the entire system takes victims and invests them in prisons where they accrue millions in the interest of politicians and corporations. Government organizations like the American Legislative Exchange Commission trade legislation for covert compensation from conglomerate groups and 3-piece per suits to get me to spend more time for pettier crimes so they can get more loot as they creep into every aspect of American industry. Companies like Sodexo and Marriott take a profit off the top from cafeteria college services, all while earning a double income from inmates who eat from that same Sodexo plate. So you could be getting your bachelor's degree, or your master's degree, or your PhD, or serving 25 to 30, but you're eating from that same dirty system. But listen closer, because it's only the beginning. So you can now buy furniture manufactured by prisoners, because prison labor is so diversified that inmates don't only make license plates anymore. Man, you got CEOs so hyped up on big bucks that they're getting ill, waiting on crime bills to overfill the penitentiaries they build on the backs of taxpayers. Private prison concentration camps creeping up in Texas and Oakland and New York and D.C., waiting for brothers and sisters like you and me to enter that new door of no return called the U.S. judicial system. Federal and private buses on highway transit simulating transatlantic slave voyages with overpacked cargo, while the government places embargoes on family visitation, saying that all inmates are threats to mankind when 70% of those locked up haven't even committed violent crimes. Is it not time for a change, or time to change the way we serve? Time? Isn't it time for prisoners to no longer be paid a developing country's wage for labor that yields billions in profits for corporate killers of colored America? Isn't it time for banks to stop claiming that they build community ties when they secretly devise schemes to lend and repossess people of color's American dreams, all to help prisoners survive with hefty loans to better accommodate those evicted than convicted? Now, I ain't saying that no one belongs behind bars or that violent criminals shouldn't suffer to the fullest extent of the law, but I think it's also a crime to have NASDAQ stocks rise as prison constructions hit all-time highs and standardized test scores hit all-time lows. Because incarceration takes precedence over educational woes, because I'm sure you didn't know that